Now, cost factor is done. We are going to study production. Production. Right. When it comes to the production, right, we study the production by splitting the production into 3 different periods. Called production, short run, second, long run, third one, very long run. Guys, first of all, we need to understand, before we start the production, we need to understand what these runs are. What are the specialties? How do you recognize short run and long run? How do you differentiate short run, long run, and very long run, etc.? We'll take a simple example for us to understand these 3 different periods, right? Guys, basically, short run. Now, first of all, right, you can't segregate the short run, long run with the use of calendar periods. You can't say 1 year long run, 2 years short run, no. You can't say 3 months short run, after that long run, no. How long you are in short run, long run depends on your business. How your business performances are, right? Since we can't measure these runs with the use of calendar months or calendar years, we have a different parameter how to recognize short run and long run, very long run, etc. Right? This is the parameter. Right? Short run, you have 2 factors, both fixed factors and variable factors, right? Both fixed factors and variable factors. If you are short run, right, at least one fixed factor is available with you, whereas you are struggling to change that particular fixed factors for you to move forward. We will discuss later in very detail. I'm preparing the background for you to understand these runs, right? Guys, when it comes to long run, what happens? Now, in short run, you had both fixed factors and variable factors, no? In long run, what happens? You will not have fixed factors, right? All factors of production will become variable factors. We'll discuss how it happens, right? Very long run is different mechanism, right? In your syllabus, very long run is not available, but we will go through this for us to understand the lesson. But when it comes to exam focus, the testing of very long run production is no way. It's not available in the syllabus, right? Let's take a simple example and understand what is short run, what is long run, and what is very long run. What are the features? Let's say, let's assume, right? I just started A-level class, right? Say I have very few numbers of students, right? Earlier, I didn't do A-level classes. I just entered to the A-level tuition class industry and doing a class. Initially, what will happen? I might hire or rented a place like IAS, 50 room, 50 people seated small classroom for about 10,000 rupees per month rent. Number of students will be very, very less, somewhere in between 10 to 20, because I have not yet created my own name. I am new to the industry, right? So most of the students that I teach are from my contacts, where my relations, brothers and sisters, sometimes my brothers and sisters, daughters, etc., etc., etc. Most of them are very well known to me, recognized people. Very less number of students, right? I'm doing the classes, first 2 years, 3 years. Gradually, I can see an improvement. Say after 5 years time, say 7 years time, still I am doing the classes in IAS, 50 room, 50 people seated classroom. Say after 5-6 years, I made, few island ranks or whatever, what so on. So I became a popular character in doing private tuition classes. What will happen gradually, right? Number of students will increase. Say from 30 to 70, what will happen? Now throughout these 5 years, what happens? I had a good relationship with IAS. I had a good relationship with my banks. I had a very good relationship with my suppliers, those who provided tutorials to me. You know, the relationship is built. When number of students increases, what will happen, right? Since I have very good relationship with the banks, with the suppliers, I managed to get my tutes done, but still, I am not in position to change the IAS classroom, because still number of students available for me 70, whereas I won't be able to rent a class for 100 seated, because the rent is somewhere 25,000-30,000. So then what I do, having the IAS 50 people seated classroom, by paying rupees 10,000 rent, what do I do? Instead of doing one session, 50 students, immediately after the first session, I ask the 50 students to go, and next 20 students I ask half an hour later to come to the same class, and I will conduct the second session. Because why I do two sessions in the same class? Because I am not in a position to shift from IAS to some other big place because the rent is high. Still I am in a short run because still factor of production, the classroom is fixed for me. Classroom is fixed for me. Still I am at the short run. Right? Because I am not in a position to change my fixed factors. Another two, say assume another 2 years gone. I managed to produce continuous best results. I became a very good name. I established very good name in the tuition industry, just assume. What will happen? Number of students become 70 to 90, 90 to 150 students. Now 150 students I can't cater at IAS. If I do at IAS, what will happen? I have to conduct 3 sessions, whereas it is very tired for me. What do? Since I have 150 number of students, my revenue will be now quite higher than I had 50 or 70 students. Right? My revenue will be very healthy. I might have very good relationship with the banks. I might have very good relationship with my suppliers. By capitalizing all these relationships, what do? I shift from IAS to some other place, whereas more seating capacity is available. Somewhere 150 students available seating capacity room. 4 rupees 35,000 rent. What will happen? I managed to change my fixed factors. The building factor which was earlier fixed, I managed to change. So then what happens? Right now I don't have the fixed factors of production. I change my fixed factors frequently. I managed to fix ACs. Later time I might think, "Ayyo, why should I pay 30,000 or 50,000 rent to some other person? If I put up my own building, so I could have retained that money with me." So what do? I just discuss. I just negotiate with my good relationship, with the use of my good relationship with the banks. I obtain a loan and put up my own building for me to accommodate 250 students at once. See what happens? 150 student seating capacity frequently change to 250 student seating capacity, my own building. I frequently change my fixed factors. So I'm at long run. I change my fixed factors frequently. I fixed ACs. I fixed very convenient washroom to the students. Nice canteen area, cafeterian place. I frequent car park, all the facilities available. I frequently change my fixed factors. I am at a long run. Number of students very high, 250 students. Revenues are generating very healthy revenues, creating revenues. I am at long run. But still I am at long run. But what do? The teaching methodology which I follow, I continue. What is the teaching methodology? I physically come to the class, take this microphone, deliver the lecture, and depart. That is the teaching methodology. Right? I physically come to the class, you physically come to the class, I deliver the lecture, you listen, then go. But my dear friends, what happens when it comes to very long run? My teaching methodology, the technology that I follows also will change. Now, see the best example now today, you don't come to the class physically, I don't come to the class physically. I deliver the lecture through the webinar or whatever the mode or method. You follow the lecture at your home. Tutorials will be emailed. You pay to the bank, I get that money from the bank. So the methodology of teaching also got changed. Production technology got changed. So then what will happen? You can recognize if the methodology of production methodology got changed, you can identify, okay, you are in a very long run. Very long run. Understand? You are in a very long run. So that is the brief, right, of explaining what is short run, long run and very long run. I explained you already the very long run is not in our syllabus, so we don't discuss. With this, we will start the short run production. Short run production, right? Short run production. In the short run, factors of production are divided into two categories as fixed factors and variable factors. Highlight two categories, fixed factors and variable factors. A firm engaged in production in the short run increases its output by increasing the use of variable factors such as raw material and labor, while fixed factors such as building and machinery technology remain constant. Please highlight. Increase output with the use of increasing fixed factors, while fixed factors remain constant. The law of diminishing returns, please highlight by different color. The law of diminishing returns, highlight diminishing returns, or law of variable factor proportions operates in relation to the short run production. Right? Guys, short run production is affected by law of LAW, law of diminishing returns. Law of diminishing returns. Law of diminishing returns. We'll see what is this law of diminishing returns. Right? Law of diminishing marginal returns. Sometimes we say law of diminishing returns. Some economic books it's mentioned diminishing marginal returns. Right? So both explain the same concept called diminishing returns. Right? Diminishing marginal returns or diminishing returns, both are the same concepts. Right? Right. We'll see what is law of diminishing marginal returns. This means that in the short run, a firm adds more of variable factors such as raw materials and labor to a given set of fixed factors. The average marginal products of the variable input will decline after a certain point. Please highlight. Average and marginal products of the variable input will decline after certain point. Now, before I explain the economic theory related to diminishing marginal returns, I would like to explain one simple example, practical example for you to understand what is diminishing marginal returns. Right? Diminishing marginal returns. Guys, let's say small carpenter house. Danone carpenter house, right? Vadu Madu. Small carpenter house. The head carpenter or the proprietor just established his new carpenter house with the use of one machine. You know that the machine available in the carpenter house that they use to cut and chop big trunks, right? Or a big machine maker. You might have seen it, right? So only one machine available, that is the fixed factor. Huh? Initially, you just started your carpenter house, or this head vadubas or whatever. Huh? He does the business. Himself, he does. Look what happens. You have 8-hour day, right? One employee right now who is head carpenter. Only one employee. Right? What this carpenter does, early in the morning, switch on the machine, cut and chop his requirement 2 hours, switch off the machine, then he assemble the furniture, what he has already cut and chopped. The machine 6 hours idle. The machine 6 hours idle. You assemble your carpenter, whatever the furniture. Your quality of production is good, so you are getting more customer orders. Your business is gaining. There is a quite good demand for your furniture. Since the demand is high, you won't be able to handle this operation alone. What do you do? You recruit one more carpenter, additional carpenter, now 1 and 2, second one. What he does again, he cuts and chops his daily requirement again 2 hours, 4 hours idle, then still both of you, head vadubas, additional person, get together, assemble goods, furniture. The production, what do you think the production? Production will be increased. Assume head vadubas produced head vadubas produced 2 furniture item daily basis. Once he get together with the second vadubas, he managed to produce not 2, 3 furniture items per day. Why? Synergy concept. 1 plus 1 not equal to 2, 1 plus 1 equal to 3. Synergy concept applies. What do you mean by this synergy concept to this carpenter house? Right? Earlier you did the job alone. Right? No one helped you. Right? No one helped you. Now you have a very good friend. Second person came to the operation. You help to him, he helps to you. Synergy concept applies, production increases. Marginal production gradually increases. Another 4 hours spent. Demand is high. You recruit third vadubas. He cut and chop. Another 2 hours remaining. Marginal production increases drastically. Another 2 hours remaining. You recruit fourth vadubas. He cuts and chop. What will happen? 0 idle hours when it comes to the machine. Machine is fully utilized. Production maximum 4 employees, machine continuously run. You are at the maximum production point. The quality of goods you produced increases. You get more demand from the customers. What do? You don't think about the machine capacity. What do? You are going to recruit the 5th Vadubas. You are going to recruit the 5th Vadubas. What will happen? What will happen? This Vadubas doesn't have 2 hours to cut and chop his requirement because machine is fully utilized. Because the machine is fully utilized. Understand? The machine is fully utilized. How he cuts and chops his requirement? Among they use the machine, he takes a small time, 10-15 minutes, go cut and chop one part, assemble. Again he reads one part, again he goes, excuse me, shall I use the machine, cut and chop, come back to the assembly point, assemble it and do the needful. Friends, what happens? Since he doesn't have entire 2 hours for him to cut and chop his requirement, he won't be able to produce an output like the 3rd and 4th one generating. What will happen? Marginal production decreases. Marginal production decreases. Starting from 1 to 5, 1 to 4, marginal production increases. From increasing 4 to 5, what will happen? Marginal production decreases. Why? Why? 5th labor is not getting enough time to produce, cut and chop his daily requirement. Why? What is the reason? With the machine, ideal number of employees are 4, not 5. When you increase the employees number 4 to 5, the marginal production that can be produced to the 5th person will decline because the combination in between the machine and the employees does not match each other. Understand? If this carpenter, head Vadubas uncle, bring a new machine, there won't be any issue. But here he is at a short run. Fixed factor available, this machine. This fixed factor loses the proper combination, number of employees. What will happen? This diminishing marginal return starts. Understand? What this diminishing marginal return says? If you increase the variable factors one by one gradually with the fixed factors, up to a certain point your marginal production increases. In this example, carpenter house machine, up to 0 labor to 4, marginal production increases. After certain point, according to this example, 5th labor recruited, what will happen? The marginal production start to decline. This is called law of diminishing returns. Law of diminishing return. Why law of diminishing return arises? Because at the time the combination, proper combination in between the fixed and the variable factors loses. This concept is called diminishing marginal return concept. this happens in the short run, because short run is the place where you get stuck with the existing fixed factors. You are not in a position to change the fixed factors because your revenue might be still very less, whereas your cash flows will be restricting your new investment towards fixed factors. I hope you understand. Right. Now, there is an example in the book, numerical example, right? Just see where we can identify this diminishing marginal returns. The hypothetical table given below helps to understand the behavior of short-run output. It refers to capital as fixed factor and labor as the variable factor. Input, productivity. Input, you can see it's split to two, capital and labor. You can see capital 5, which is fixed. Labor 0 to 10 variable, it's increasing. So this is short run. Fixed factors available, that is fixed. Variable factors labor, that's increasing. Total production is given. Average production is given. We want to concentrate marginal product. Look at the marginal product. From 0 to 1 labor, marginal production increases to 10. From labor 1 to 2, marginal production increases to 15. Marginal production increase by 10. Third labor, marginal production increase 25, increasing. Fourth labor, marginal production increases to 40, still increasing. Fifth labor, marginal production increase up to 70. Look at this after the fifth labor. Sixth labor recruited, what will happen? Your marginal production decrease from 70 to 50. Put an arrow to this in between 70 and 50. This is the place where diminishing marginal returns starts. Understand? So after that, what will happen? Marginal returns are reducing. Here it's not given what is the reason that the marginal returns are declining, but I explained you the reason. The mismatchness in between the fixed factors and the variable factors. Understand? Right, done. So that is diminishing marginal returns. I'm going to explain you how do you explain this diminishing marginal returns with the diagram. Concentrate properly. Q production, TP. Sorry, this side labor. Right? This side labor. What happens? Total production. We'll take a red color pen. The total production curve, it's like this. Total production curve. Look here. From, say, R S from 0 to R, you can see production increases drastically, increasing rate. Look, production, marginal production 10 to 15. 10, 15. 15 to 25, 25 to 40, 40 to 70. Marginal production increased drastically at increasing rate. Increasing returns. Increasing returns. Number one, area number one shows increasing returns. Diminishing marginal returns theory. Definition: when you increase the variable factors to the fixed factors, your marginal production up to a certain point increases. Up to a certain point increases. This is the certain point. Up to this point increases. After that start to decline. From second stage, from R to S, what will happen? Marginal production increases, but it increases at decreasing rate. Understand? Marginal production increases, but increasing rate is decreasing. Right? Number one, marginal production increases at increasing rate. Very important. Marginal production increases at increasing rate. Second stage, from R to S, still marginal production increases, but it increases at in decreasing rate. That is why slope is this area very flat. Metana me balan slope එක මාර වැඩි. Here the slope is quite flat. After this point onwards, marginal production is negative. From say R to down, from S to down, third area, here I don't have the space, right here, third, MP is negative. MP is negative. MP is negative. MP is negative. Right? MP is negative. When your total production at maximum point, your marginal production, if you just draw the marginal production curve, right? Marginal production curve like this. It goes like that. It's your marginal production curve, MP. Marginal production equals to 0 when your total production is at your maximum point. Because when the marginal production is negative, then only total production start to decline. Got it? This is your marginal production curve. Right? So, friends, look here. Now we are going to, now I'm going to explain one more very important thing. Now we just discussed the production short run. No? Come back to the previous lesson before the break, what we have just studied. Average cost, average variable cost, marginal cost. Initially, can you remember, go back to the previous example, what we have calculated numerically. Average cost initially reduced up to a certain point. Average cost reduced up to a certain point. Why this average cost reduces up to a certain point? Because diminishing marginal return. Up to a certain point, marginal production increasing at increasing rate. When your marginal production increasing at increasing rate, what will happen? Your average cost is declining. That is the reason. Got it? Your average cost is declining up to a certain point. Why? Short run, increasing returns, your marginal production increases at increasing rate. Understand? After that, start to decline. This area. Then what will happen? When marginal production declining, what will happen? Average cost increases. Average cost increases. So, the reason why average cost is up to a certain point declining and after that increases, this is the reason. Diminishing marginal returns theory. Right? Diminishing marginal returns theory. Okay? So, with this, I move from short run to long run. Before that, I will give you 2 minutes for you to draw this graph. After that, have a small note, the relationship between diminishing marginal return theory and short run cost. Please keep your own notes. These 2 diagrams are very important. So take 2 minutes time, go through the note and have your own notes. Keep your own notes. Right. We'll start then long run production. Short run production is done. Long run production, page number 53. We discussed earlier, long run is the period where no fixed factors. All factors become variable factors, right? You can change your fixed factors frequently. So since you can change the fixed factors frequently, that is considered as variable factor, because if you can change your fixed factors immediately, so that is not a fixed factor, that is become a variable factor. Got it? Right. We'll see. Long run production. The long run is a period of time in which the firm is able to change all inputs. The firm will increase its output by increasing all the factors. In other words, the firm will increase its output by increasing all factors. If you want to write down, put an arrow to the all factors, write down both fixed factors and variable factors. In other words, there will be a change in scale or size of the firm. Highlight scale or size of the firm increases. This affects to the productivity and the cost of the firm. The law of return to scale explains the behavior of the cost and the output of the long run. Please highlight different color. Law of return to scale explain the behavior of the long run production. Right. Guys, very simple. Don't complicate. Now we studied 3 runs. Short run, long run, very long run, right? Short run production is affected, short run production behavior, right? Short run behavior explained by law of diminishing returns theory. Law of diminishing returns theory, right? Law of diminishing marginal returns. Even at time diminishing returns theory. Right? Now long run production behavior determined by return to scale theory, return to scale. Short run, diminishing marginal returns theory. Long run, return to scale theory. Understand? Very clear. Guys, when you change your fixed factors frequently, just assume, right? Earlier, right? You produce goods with the use of small machine, right? You sell your small machine and buy a new machine where you can produce more. Guys, it's very simple. If you buy a machine where you can produce big quantity than the previous machine, that indirectly implies the scale of your business increases, no? Scale increases. The market you cater increases. The size of your firm increases. If I shift from 50-seater class to 100-seater class, that what it says indirectly, I have changed the scale or the size of my business. Very simple. Right? Very simple. So guys, what will happen when you increase your size of the business, it affects to your productivity, no doubt. I'll give you one simple example. Earlier when we discussed that particular example, class example, when I have 70 students, right? When I was at IAS 50-seater class, what happened? For me to cater 70 students, I had to conduct 2 classes, 2 sessions. First 51 class, second 20 soon after the first class, second class, 2 sessions. When I do my first session and start the second session, I'm quite tired. So efficiency of that particular second session could have been definitely not 100% like I did the first session. Sure, no doubt. We are humans, no? Right? No doubt. But just assume, if I could have conduct 70 students at one go, first session, with increased seating capacity, I mean 100 seater or 250 class, what will happen? In one go, I could have catered 70 students. So what happens? Efficiency is high, no doubt. Efficiency increases, right? So this increase of the size of the business definitely, right, increase the productivity of the business, right? Most of the time, not always, we will discuss later, not all the time, right? Increase the productivity, right? So return to scale, right? Return to scale. Return to scale 3 types, like we'll go through the note first. Return to scale. Return to scale operates in long run, no doubt. It refers the relationship between changes in output and the changes in all inputs. How do you calculate return to scale? Return to scale equals output divided by input. Return to scale. We'll take a simple example. No, here output 50, Q 50, input rupees 100. This is your return to scale. This is your return to scale. Got it? Right. Return to scale operate in the long run if the it refers the relationship between changes in input and changes in all inputs in the long run when the factor proportions are held constant. There are 3 stages in the operation of return to scale. There are 3 stages of return to scale. What are the 3 stages? First one, write down, increasing return to scale. Second, constant return to scale. Third one, decreasing return to scale. Increasing return to scale, constant return to scale, decreasing return to scale. Right. For me to explain, first of all, return to scale example, if I want to calculate the average cost based on this given data, how do I calculate the average cost? Average cost I calculate total cost divided by quantity, no? My total cost is my input value, so my input value is 100 rupees. My input value is 100 rupees. Output my quantity, it's 50. My average cost is 2 rupees. My average cost is 2 rupees. Got it? My average cost is 2 rupees. Now, increasing return to scale. Increasing return to scale means return to scale formula is output divided by input, no? Increasing return to scale, what will happen? Your output increase higher percentage than your input percentage. You increase your input by 50%. In replying to that, output increase by 100%. Right? Output increase by 100%. We'll get the same data here. Right? Your output increase by, earlier you have 50, 100, no? 50, 100. Your Q is 100. Your input rupees 50, 100 rupees, your Q is 50. Now increasing return to scale, what will happen? Your quantity will be increased by 100%, that means 100, 50, 100%, 100, divided by input increased by 50%. 100, 50% means 150. Correct? Now we calculate average cost of this. Average cost, Q rupees. Your average cost is input 150. Your Q is 100. What happens to average cost? 150 divided by 100, 1.5 rupees. What happens? Initially average cost 2 rupees. When you are exposed to increasing returns to scale, what will happen? Your average cost decreased. Isn't it? When you are exposed to increasing return to scale, it reduces your average cost. Average cost declining. AC down. AC down. Look at the constant return to scale. Your output, return to scale, output divided by input. Constant return to scale means your output increased by 100%, input increased by 100%. Both are at the same percentage. Just say earlier Q50, previous example. Rupees 100, no? What happens? Both are increased by 50%, 100%. 50 become 100 Q, 100 become 200. Then again calculate the average cost. Average cost, your cost is 200, your output is 100. What happens? Your average cost is 2 rupees. Earlier, average cost 2 rupees. Average cost again 2 rupees. Average cost AC doesn't change or remain constant. Output increase 100%. Input increase 100%. That means output and input both increase by the same percent. What happens? There is no impact to your average cost. Average cost doesn't change if you are exposed to constant return to scale. Constant return to scale. Third one, decreasing return to scale. Decreasing return to scale, what happens? Decreasing return to scale. Your output increase. Your output increase lesser percentage than your input increase percentage. What happens? You increase your input by 100%, but your output is increased by 50%. Look here, we'll take the same example. Q50, rupees 100. Your quantity increased by 50%, 25 no? Q75, your input increased by 100%, that means rupees 200. Now calculate the average cost and see. Average cost AC, input is say 200 rupees, output 75, 200 divided by 75 is how much? This here pana hai 200 divided by 75. 75, 75, 150, 2, 150, 500, 2.5. कैसे अपन आए 2.6 ambia. What happens? Average cost. What happened to the average cost? Initially average cost 2 rupees. 2 rupees. Yeah, average cost 2 rupees. But if you are exposed to decreasing return to scale, what will happen? Your average cost is increasing. Average cost increasing. Average cost increases. Average cost increases. Very simple. Return to scale is the ratio is in between output and input. Return to scale, the ratio output and input. There are 3 types of return to scale: increasing, constant, decreasing. Increasing return to scale, what will happen? Your output increase by more percentage than your input. Then what will happen? Your average cost declining. Constant return to scale, what happens? Both output and input increases at the same percentage. There is no impact to average cost. Third one, diminishing return to scale or decreasing return to scale. Your output increasing at lesser percentage than your input increment percentage. What happens? Your average cost increases. So if you draw long run total production curve, long run average cost, it's like this, LAC. 3 stages, 1, 2, 3. First stage, average cost declining because average cost declining, increasing return to scale. So the section represent number 1. This area shows, this part represent increasing return to scale. Here second part, you can see average cost doesn't change. Average cost doesn't change, that means you are in constant return to scale. Third one, average cost increasing, that means you are in decreasing return to scale. Decreasing return to scale. Friends, this long run average cost is a flat U curve shape. Long run average cost curve is flat U-shaped curve. Whereas short run average cost is a short run average cost. Again U-shaped curve, but it is not flat. like long run average cost curve. Got it? Right. So with this, long run production also done. Right. We'll go through the note. We'll go through the note. Increasing return to scale, page number 54. The proportionate increase in output is greater than the proportionate increase in input. Highlight. Increase in output is greater than proportionate increase in input. Output percentage is higher. Since average cost decline with the increasing return to scale, it indicates a movement downwards in the long run average cost curve. Please highlight. Indicates movement downward along the long run average cost curve. Constant return to scale, when the proportionate increase in input is the same as proportionate increase in output, the situation is known as constant return to scale. With the operation of constant return to scale, the long run average cost will be horizontal. Please highlight. Short run average cost will be horizontal, flat. Third one, diminishing return to scale. Diminishing return to scale. When the proportionate increase in output is lesser than the proportionate increase in input, there will be decreasing return to scale. Please highlight. Proportionate increase in input is lesser than proportionate increase in input. There will be increase in return to scale. As a result, the average cost curve rises upwards. Please highlight. Average cost curve rises upwards. Again, the curve is there. Like I have marked number 1, 2, and 3. It's very clearly marked. Recognize 3 areas. Average cost down, increase in return to scale. Average cost horizontal, constant return to scale. Average cost increasing, decreasing return to scale. Right. Please go through note again. I will give you 2 minutes time for you to go through the note. Right. Right. Economies of scale. Right. Economies of scale. What is economies of scale? Now, very simple. Economies of scale affected in long run, no doubt. Economies of scale is the reason that will be impacted to decrease the average cost in long run. Look here. When you are exposed to increasing return to scale, what happens? Your average cost is declining. No. So to decrease the average cost, economies of scale are impacted. Right? Automatically, you know, when the output increases more percentage than the input, right? When you increase your input by 50%, automatically you can't increase the output by 100%, no. Some sort of mechanism should be there, less input to be converted to high number of output. That mechanism is done through the economies of scale. Economies of scale. So within bracket you can write down economies of scale, within bracket reasons for increasing return to scale. Within bracket you can write down reasons for increasing return to scale. Reasons for increasing return to scale. Right, we'll go through. The advantages of large-scale production lead to the reduction in average cost in the long run are known as economies of scale. They are the outcome of expansion of the firm. Please highlight expansion of the firm. Again highlight the advantage of large-scale production which lead to reduction in average cost. They are the outcome of the expansion of the firm and the industry. Expansion, highlight again expansion of the firm and expansion of the industry. Right. Right. Economies of scale divided into two, right? Impacted by expansion of firm. The other one, expansion of the industry. Expansion of the firm and expansion of the industry. Expansion of firm means in-house. You increase the size of the firm. Assume you have a hotel, 50-room hotel. Since the tourism of Sri Lanka increases, you invest another 50 million for you to increase number of rooms available at in your hotel. So that is expansion of the firm. You converted your 50 rooms to the 100 rooms for you to earn more revenue. Expansion of the firm. Expansion of the industry means you have 50-room hotel. Earlier 50-room hotel, daily basis only 25 rooms only occupied. Now the tourism industry was boomed. Assume tourism industry is boomed. As a result, what happened? You will have more businesses because large number of tourists will come to Sri Lanka. Earlier, out of 50 rooms, occupied only 25. Now, just because of large number of tourist arrivals, your occupancy from 25 increased to 45. That is expansion of the industry. You didn't do anything internally. Automatically, due to expansion of the tourism industry, you get additional business. This is called expansion of the industry. Right? So, expansion of the firm, we called expansion of the firm we recognized or we called internal economies of scale. Expansion of the industry we call external economies of scale. Right? External economies of scale. First of all, we are going to study internal economies of scale, which arises expansion of the firm. Write this down, please. Write this down. Right. Right. First, we study internal economies of scale. The internal economies of scale arises from expansion of the firm. Please highlight here. Internal economies of scale arises from expansion of the firm. Highlight expansion of the firm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 internal economies of scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is blank. You can write down first one. First one, technical economies. Technical economies. First one, technical economies. Technical economies. Second one, managerial economies. Second one, managerial economies. Third one, marketing economies. Third one, marketing economies. Third one, marketing economies. Fourth one, financial economies. Fourth one, financial economies. Last one, risk-bearing economies. Risk-bearing economies. Risk-bearing economies. Right. First one, technical economies. We'll go through quickly. Technical economies. These are the cost reduction which occur due to the higher productivity that results from the use of better techniques and productions. Please highlight. Better techniques of production. A small firm is unable to use highly specialized and more efficient machinery and equipment as there would be excess capacity. Furthermore, large firms can use labor more efficiently through specialization and division of labor. Very simple. Very simple. When you apply new technology, right? When you apply new technology, what will happen? Your output increases drastically. If you apply new technology, to your firm, assume you sold out your existing old machine and buy a new machine, whereas efficiency is high, electricity consumption is high, efficiency is high, right? Maintenance less. What will happen? Automatically, production increases. Production will be doubled, right? So that is called technical economies. Second one, managerial economies. Managerial economies, just go through. Large number of firms can employ specialists for each managerial function, such as production, marketing, and finance. Managerial efficiency increases the productivity and reduces average cost. Yeah, it's very simple. Small firms, you can't do that. Specialized person, you can't recruit. So say small firms, right? Accountant, purchasing, production, multitaskers, all these functions are cross-functional activities are done by one particular person, because he doesn't have enough capacity or enough revenue for him to recruit one particular person only for production. No, for small firms. But when it comes to the large firms, right, large factories, production will be looked after by an engineer who is specialized in production. Marketing area is done by a specialized key person who is professionally qualified in marketing, like SIM. Accounting or finance part will be undertaken by professional accountants like chartered accountant, in future like you people, right? So then what will happen? Rather than doing all the activities by one single person, having cross-functional activities by specialized person definitely increases the efficiency of the firm. Third one, marketing economies. Bulk purchases of raw materials could be made at lower unit cost discounts. Similarly, bulk sales reduce the unit cost of distribution. Specialists would be employed for purchasing and sales. Yes, when it comes to the large firms, they buy the raw material at once, large quantities. When you buy large quantities, what will happen? You will get the discounts. So when you get the discounts, what will happen? Your average cost comes down. Say small firms can't buy bulk quantities, so then they can buy at higher prices. What will happen? The average cost would be increased. That is what it mentioned, marketing economies. Fourth one, financial economies. Large firms able to borrow large sums of funds at lesser interest. The capital of large public limited companies could be increased issuing the shares. Yes, small companies can't issue shares, but large companies like PLCs, if they required any capital, they can do a public offering or whatever. Easily they can get money without having any single cost. So financial economics is that if you want to invest money where you don't have funds right now, you can call for public share issue. Your cost is only paying a dividend at the end of the year. You can collect a large amount of money by issuing shares, but private firm can't do it. Last one, risk-bearing economies. Large-scale production takes risk, may be reduced through the diversification products and the market. Yes, certain firms, they don't restrict one particular line of business. They have group of business activities. You know, when it comes to, say, the best example, Haley's, right? Haley's, they do everything. Haley's, you know, production, market production, production of, chemicals, hotels, manufacturing, cargo services, healthcare, everything under one roof. When it comes to Hemas hospitals, Hemas FMCG, large number of businesses, they are involved. When it comes to, privately held firms like, Capital Maharaja, media, production, entertainment, cellular phones, pharmaceutical, shipping, Aiken Spence, best example, hotels, printing, travel industry. So large number of businesses available, different business sectors. So what will happen through the diversification, say during a particular season, say one business is not doing good, say right now hotel business is not doing good, but some other business of the same group might function properly, right? Like, you know, Mr. Dhammika Pereira Haley's group, they have finance companies. Sampath Bank, he is the main shareholder. Valuable One, he's the shareholder, main shareholder. Haley's hotels might not performing right now, but when it comes to the businesses of financial sector, might earning huge profits during this time. So what happens? From one sector you lose, from the other sector you gains. You can set off the profits, you can sustain your business in a very, very smooth manner. So that's what it gives for risk-bearing economies. So external economies of scale, yes, we'll just quickly go through, right? The advantage of external economies of scale, you can, within bracket, you can write down expansion of the industry. The advantages of the firm arises from the expansion of the industry are known as external economies of scale. Please highlight expansion of the industry. They are available for all the firms in the industry, whether they are big or small. Please highlight they are available to all, whether the business is big or small. Concentration of an industry in a particular area leads to a pool of skilled labor which will be available all the firms. Please highlight skilled labor. Better infrastructure will be developed. More information will be available. Highlight better infrastructure available. More information will be available. Please highlight again, more information will be available. The growth of support service and the subsidiary industries will be beneficial to all the firms in the industry. Please again highlight growth of support services and the industry, subsidiary industry will be beneficial for all the industries in the main industry. Right. So this economies of scale we'll discuss after the next week, right? So after this small part, I will start the revenue of the firm next week. So guys, my humble request is, please go through very thoroughly what we have studied, short run production, long run production, because next week when we study the market structure, we need the knowledge of the theories what we studied today. So please go through. So have a nice time with great piece of studies. Thank you.